population in Gaza is 2 million people, and every single one of those people is food insecure. 500,000 people are in catastrophic hunger. That's IPC Phase 5. Famine is not only mass death in the moment, it reshapes the population for generations. During the Irish famine, nearly 2 million people died. And 150 years later, survivor descendants still show higher rates of metabolic disorders. My food response has been altered indefinitely because of food scarcity that occurred 150 years ago. There is a biological legacy attached to starvation. 2 million people now face the same fate. Even if aid flows into Gaza today, a generation of children are going to carry an altered stress response. You have permanently damaged their hunger genes. There are 500,000 people in Phase 5 famine in Gaza this morning. What this looks like on the ground: families eating animal food or weeds, drinking dirty water, mass graves for children who've died of malnutrition. 100 people died purely from starvation yesterday. Starvation is a war crime. Food is available and it sits at Gaza's closed border. The IDF limit how long that border can be open. Sometimes it's as short as 11 minutes a day. And then they block the fuel that's needed to make food from ingredients. They airstrike bakeries and farms and warehouses and children trying to collect water. Since May, over 1,000 people have been killed in food aid queues shot by Israeli forces. Aid agencies are describing this as death traps. The US, the UK, Germany and the EU provide military aid and diplomatic cover for Israel, and public pressure is the only tool that has ever forced open these blockades. Israel is avoiding consequences because of its alliances and their veto powers. But over time, documentation keeps accumulating. This is all case building material. Israel is going to face an avalanche of litigation and social exile on the world stage. You thought you were exiled before? Wait till the tribunals start. Slobodan Milosevic protected his allies for years, but eventually they were extradited and tried. Israel's current posture, believing that Western backing guarantees its survival, mirrors all these other despots who eventually faced trial. We can wait. Israel already faces entire reputational collapse. Every major IDF operation has been filmed by locals, by journalists, and by the soldiers themselves. Their faces, their voices, and their unit insignias are all archived by NGOs and investigative journalists. Once conflict cools, states often hand over lower-ranking officials first in an attempt to deflect international anger. In the case of Israel, all IDF leaders and political actors are already identified. Israelis are persona non grata in Europe. The arrest of Israeli soldiers at Tomorrowland should be a warning. They think they got away, but you haven't seen the widespread outrage in EU music spaces. You are not wanted in our crowds. And if our legal systems won't punish you, I wouldn't want to show up at Tomorrowland again. Boycott Israel is not just for the products. That expands into our music, our tech, our universities. All those places where Israel once built its soft power. Your reputation is in tatters. To be associated with Israel is toxic and embarrassing. This cultural trajectory echoes South Africa during apartheid and Serbia in the 90s. Isolation starts soft at first. Your exclusion from the arts and academia and Western intellectual culture should be the first red flag, because next comes political and economic sanctions. There is already massive economic and diplomatic fallout for Israel, even if the genocide stopped today. You are watching your tech and academic partnerships disintegrate. European governments face public pressure. Even the diaspora is divided. Jews are starting to distance themselves from Israel. They get enough anti-Semitism as it is. It's likely that at least for the next year, Israel will be able to maintain a military operation with Western backing, unless Trump dies of syphilis and congestive heart failure. But every single day, they are digging a bigger hole with the evidence. By the time the government changes in the UK again, I promise you that Europe will be sanctioning and arresting IDF leaders actively. And Western cultural and academic spaces will have shut Israel out completely. By the end of the decade, trials in the international courts will have begun. If you think just because nobody's arresting you today that you are home and free, you don't understand how the law works, clearly. People don't forget. Exile and isolation on a scale unimaginable are not just coming for Israelis. The process has already begun.